Sports presents Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
Another episode of Benning Bites. Appreciate you fine folks joining us wherever we are, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, television. Maybe you're just on 590, Coffee and Cream, supporting the show. My main man, Andrew Rogers. Make sure you give him a follow at Andrew Rogers TV. It's a lot going on. Pretty spirited discussion yesterday about a lot of things, right? The dynamics that perspective plays in terms of how we assess a situation and kind of what we think of it. And I always think there's I don't know what you folks think, but there's always some fine line, in my opinion, between when fans fan on social media and media comes across more of a fan on social media. And I think I just kind of draw the distinction of I'm not comfortable with that, right? Unless, I get it, as an alum, and it is, you're cheering for your team or it's your alma mater or whatever, like I just said, and you're like, oh, hey, man, like Danny Cannell may cheer for FSU or I may cheer for Nebraska. But I still think it's important to, know, situational awareness, right? If I'm on a broadcast and it's the Husker Radio Network, I'm afforded the luxury of being a fan, but I don't think that's what people really want to hear, right? I mean, I still think there's this educational component or where you want to be entertained from a media standpoint versus, just cheering for the team, right? Why are we tuning in? And it's always such a fine line because that would be vastly different, let's say, than if I was on the Big Ten Network. See, on the Big Ten Network, same situation basically, Minnesota, Nebraska, or Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Minnesota, or Nebraska and Purdue or whatever. But BTN wouldn't want a fan's perspective. So I always am cognizant of playing in both worlds because I think at the end of the day, it just depends on what my role is for what I think you people want from me. Is it to be informative? Do you want to be entertained? Am I supposed to be objective? And if it's my opinion, should I just say, oh, hey, you know what, that's my opinion based on this? And I just saw so much, and I get the immediacy of social media, and it's not the end-all, be-all. But just the quick ability to respond and have these strong opinions without either context or the ability to be objective. Because I think if you say, and I know it's weird, you're right, well, DB, how can you're saying it can be my opinion and that's okay, but you still want me to be objective, it's my opinion. You're right, that's pretty tricky. But what I always like to say is, if it's just my personal taste, then just say it's my personal taste or it's my personal preference. It doesn't have to be where we actually want somebody to adhere to the label that you gave them. Right? Just because I don't like somebody's vantage point or something they did. Maybe they did something that wasn't very smart. And I go, man, you were just, God, what an idiot. That may have been an idiot thing to do, but that doesn't make that person an idiot. At least that's how I try to live my life, because I think it's just really important for people to understand when they're dealing with the human element that there's going to be some mistakes made. There are going to be some things that we don't always agree with. But the same as you don't want to cast an isolated incident and make somebody just that particular thing, you also don't want to be raising someone or loving on someone that just because they did that one thing, that's all that people will associate them with. Right? So if you don't want it to the good about people that you care about, don't make it to the bad because you don't like that person or you do cheer against that team. And I know I can hear it now. Oh, that's what being a fan is all about. I guess, but when we start judging people in isolated incidents, I just think you have to be careful because that's how negative groupthink get started. And what we're really trying to do is empower people to be individual thinkers, right, based on some sort of deductive reasoning. I just, maybe that's too much. Maybe just in the moment you're cheering. But I felt like the thing that made this game yesterday different or 2 days ago with LSU and Iowa was it was such a national stage, and a lot of people weren't familiar with the background, but had like these immediate opinions, and then we kind of moved the goalpost a little bit. And I don't know, I just kind of kept it simple. I could not like something in the moment and know that that's not the core, the essence of who somebody is or isn't. I watched Caitlin Clark 1,000 times. If you've listened to this show, we've talked about her a ton, right? 900, 300, and the Caitlin Clark watch, and we talked about her triple doubles. And I watch a lot of women's college basketball, and I just think, I just really want to be careful where we don't make it. And I kind of alluded to this on the show. I want women and competitors in women's sports to have the same individualities and freedoms that we allow in the men's game without the fear of judgment. And that's a little deep because that's what fans do. They judge in the moment. But what I'm saying is, if it's good for the goose, then it should be good for the gander, right? If we're cool with it over here when men do it, you know, if Duncan can celebrate or Tristan Alvano can windmill and, you know, talk about how excited he is after a state championship, or a guy can run to the star, or we can plant a flag. Like, the fan bases cannot like that without the general compare and contrast. Well, because they're this, they should do this. It doesn't work like that, you know. It just doesn't, and I don't like the double standard, because I think that's what we get. And it's not just a race thing. It's not just a black-white thing. It's a male-female thing, like a gender thing, right? Reese and Caitlin Clark do things that Luka Doncic and Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and Kyrie Irving and Terrell Owens and Aaron Rodgers have done since they played the game. And I think to pick this time because of an isolated incident to have all these hot takes, man, I think it's crazy. And I think you're doing a disservice. Let the ladies compete and do what they do to the best of their ability. You saw spectacular basketball, and you saw the best player at the collegiate level on the planet in Caitlin Clark do her thing. So I just want to keep the main things as opposed to majoring in the minors. Make sure you major in the majors, just with people in general. Just a little FYI, a little nugget, a little bite, if you will. It's my own. It's a Benning bite.